I had a young player at Ipswich called Elkan Baggott, who's Indonesian. He was a really good young player at Ipswich. So coming up against Zidane I know it was going to be really tough, really tough. As I said, I think the biggest key for me for the Norwich promotions was the team spirit. I signed with St Mirren when I was 13 years old, and at that time we had a youth training scheme, and I had 2 years to prove myself from 13 until 15. And we used to go into St Mirren and train with other lads my age, and after 2 years the club asked me to sign when I was 15 years old. When I became 15 I made my debut at 16. I was on the bench I think when I was 15 against a team called Dumbarton, but I made my competitive debut when I was 16. So I think training with the first team at a really young age certainly brought me on quicker than as if I was training with guys my own age. So the manager thought I was good enough to play with the first team, and he put me into the first team, which was great. And then, as I said before, I made my full debut when I was 16, and after that I was in the team quite regular. And then I won my first trophy when I was 17, first national trophy, which is the Scottish Cup final, and St Mirren beat Dundee United 1-0. And Dundee United at that time were very good. They were in the final of the UEFA Cup against Malmo, and yeah, everything was good. So I think it's important for young players to try and get into a first team as early as they can, because it gives them a good standing and a good upbringing. And I was very fortunate to play with a really good St Mirren team.
How it feel like when you have to face players like Zidane, players like Zidane?
I think when I signed for Borussia Dortmund, the great thing was I was playing with great players in my own team. Riedler, Müller, Schapuisa, Jürgen Kohler, Matthias Sammer, Julio Cesar, Martin Kree, Stefan Reuter, Jörg Heinrich, Paulo Sousa, Michael Zorc. I played with some great players, and I also played against great players in the Bundesliga. So I played against Mehmet Scholl, Lothar Matthäus, great players in their time. So, and also played against Georgi Hagi, Thomas Hassler. I played against some great players. So coming up against Zidane I know it was going to be really tough, really tough. But the manager at that time, Otmar Hitzfeld, had moulded me into a defensive midfielder, which was the role that I held down for basically most of my career. So I think coming up against Zidane was a great thing. That's where I think became the player that I did become, really, because I think playing against him, who was the greatest player in the world at that time, and to stop him, or partly stop him, was a great thing for us. And hopefully it helped everybody else to win the game. But winning the Champions League is the greatest honour. I don't think anybody can ever underestimate how big the Champions League is. It's the greatest club tournament in European game. Everybody wants to win it, and I'm fortunate that I've done it. But the actual Dortmund fans at that time was really special. The team was really special, and you see how hard it is to win the Champions League in this time. It's a really difficult competition to win, but we done it, and we played against a real good Juventus team. But Zidane, yeah, world-class player. At that time he was probably the best player in the world, and I was fortunate enough to be part of a really good side that helped stop him from probably doing the great things that he can do. No, there always was instructions from the manager or the coach Otmar. I knew if there was a special number 10, whether it was playing in the Bundesliga or in Europe, I knew who I had to mark, really. And the final, actually, believe it or not, the final, when you look at the lineups, Zidane started to play in Paulo Sousa's side, and Andy Müller had Deschamps, and Jukovic was in my side. But when we took the kick-off, Paulo and I changed, because Zidane I knew was going to be the biggest threat. So Paulo and I changed, and it ended up Paulo took Jukovic, and I changed and picked up Zidane. But I knew the role because Otmar had told me before. But I also played in front of great defenders, as I said before, Jürgen Kohler, Matthias Sammer, and at that time Martin Kree played. And also they kept me right. So I was playing with a great team. But wherever Zidane went, I knew I had to go with him. Because I think one of the greatest things Zidane had was, people used to think he was great with the ball, he was. but he was also very clever, who could drift, and I didn't want to drop him. So maybe 8 times out of 10 I could pick his run up, because I had to sacrifice a lot of the way I wanted to play. But to nullify him, to stop him playing, was really difficult, just because of the player he was. But thankfully it worked that night. But he had great 2 feet. He could step over to the right, step over to the left, and I knew if I never got close to him, then I thought we'd be in trouble. And that's exactly what I'd done. I got as close as I could to him, and that's how it worked.
All right. After Dortmund, you moved to Celtic, right? You are chosen by the team.
Well, I had great 9 years at Celtic. A great club, pretty similar to Borussia Dortmund. Really similar with the fan bases. There was a pressure moment for us when I first joined, because I think a lot of people know, especially in Scotland, that Rangers had won 9 in a row titles. Celtic had won 9 in a row titles in the great Jock Stein era. So it was important Celtic won the league that year. So the pressure was really big, and we done it. That year was a great achievement to do it, because we played against a great Rangers side, and for us to stop the 10 in a row, as they called it back then, was a great thing. So but the pressure at Celtic is big. You have to win games. Great club, great fan base, which has got. And the time at Celtic was great, but one thing at Celtic is you virtually have to win every game, or else you get criticised for it. But it's a great club, and I was lucky enough to, I think I won 4 league titles there, and I think maybe 2 or 3 Scottish Cups, and then the League Cup. So I had a lot of success at Celtic, but being a captain was a really proud moment there. Great, as I said, great club, a lot of pressure, but a great moment to be made the captain.
Tell us the story about your experience to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Did you lead your country to the World Cup?
I think for any young player, the World Cup is probably the pinnacle, because everybody wants to play there. We were really fortunate that we played Brazil in the first game, which was incredible for our country to play against Brazil, because Brazil at that time, Ronaldo, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, Dunga, Rivaldo, they had great players at that time. And I think everybody, when the draw was made, everybody thought we were going to get really beaten heavily, but we never did. We had a really good game against them. It was 1-1 for a long time, and we were unfortunate we scored an own goal, and that's the goal that beat us 2-1. But we gave Brazil a really good game. It was a great occasion, and at that point for us, if you can't win the World Cup, it's a great game to open it. The second game was disappointing, because we were so much better than Norway. We drew up with Norway 1-1, and the atmosphere in Bordeaux was incredible. The Scotland fans had took over Bordeaux, which was great, but we should have beaten Norway. And I think that was a game that kind of hurt us a little bit, because we needed the 3 points at that game. But 1-1, we gave it everything that day. And the Morocco game was a disappointing one, because we got a man sent off in the first half, which more or less hurt us, and I think we lost 3-0 or 3-1. So, but the World Cup's a great thing, and if you'd said to me it's going to be 20 odd years before Scotland got to another, it could be longer, another World Cup, nobody would have believed that. Thankfully the national team's in the Euros, or was in the Euros, but the World Cup's a great, for any young player growing up in Scotland, that was the pinnacle of your career.
Okay, so let's move to your manager scenario. When you brought Norwich City back to the back.
I was really fortunate when I took over at Norwich. The team had really good players in League One at that time. So I just felt if we could manage them and put an arm around them, I think they would have done well, and thankfully we did. We went on an incredible run. The fans were great at Norwich with me. They were great, but the team was the most important thing. But we had really good players there. What we did have was a really great team spirit, and I kept most of the guys right through the season. We got promoted into the Championship, and then basically it happened again with more or less the same group of guys. 1 or 2 new guys came, but we made a conscious decision. We wanted to keep everybody from who got us to the Championship. We kept most of the guys there. We brought 1 or 2 in to help us, and we've done it again. But as I said, I think the biggest key for me for the Norwich promotions was the team spirit. The spirit was great. We had a really good bond together. I think the players and management team, the staff, everybody connected, and I think that was the secret to us. But it was an incredible achievement to do back-to-back promotions, and there's not been too many clubs have ever done it. So really proud of what Norwich done, but the lads deserve the most amount of credit.
Right. And then let's talk about
Well, I think when I first came with the Dortmund legends, we obviously played Persa Bandung, which was a great thing for us. And the Dortmund legends are great. It's a great thing. It really is. It brings a lot of guys back together. You play some really good games. You visit great countries. I'd never been to Asia or Indonesia. Never been. And when I came over, we'd done a little bit of coaching at the stadium here, which was great with the young kids. The kids were great, really good, met a lot of good people, met the president here, which was a really good thing to have met. So, but the whole trip and the whole experience was a fantastic time for me personally, and probably for the legends. So, and then going to Bandung, which was another great visit to have a look. Jakarta was great, and the game, everything. I think it's just a friendly atmosphere you get here. I know football's a really big sport here in this country, really big. The population is so big. I had a young player at Ipswich called Elkan Baggott, who's Indonesian. He was a really good young player at Ipswich. So yeah, I was really happy to come back and do this sort of thing with you guys. So I'm looking forward to the next weeks and months coming ahead. So I travel quite a lot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.